Hello, it's Nikki. How are you doing? How's your week been? Have you had some good food this week? If you, like me, are bored of your own cooking and have some fantastic recipes you would like to share with me, so I don't become so predictable, it's so boring, and just cooking the same things, I would love to hear them. Email me, hello@nikkiraby.com. Having said that, last weekend, I made a sticky toffee pudding, which was excellent. I think I've mentioned it already. And then these sticky, glazed, chili, spicy. There's a lot of adjectives, basically, in these things. And they were really tasty. And this is going to be one of these sauces where I just use it for lots of different things. Noodles and stir fries and all kinds of things. And it's one of those really effortless... Sorry, I'll stop talking about food in a minute, but it's one of those really effortless sauces where you just feel like you're throwing a few ingredients together and it tastes amazing at the end of it. So it will be one of those when people eventually can come to my house where they're sitting in the kitchen with me like, oh my goodness, how did you make that? And it's like, well, just threw a few ingredients in. It's actually got about 9 ingredients in, but worth it. Absolutely worth it. Okay, what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about lots of things, actually, and I want to talk about them live as they are happening. And this is quite unusual for the internet, I feel, at this time, because we all love a before and after, don't we? We like the first shot of the before, like, I didn't know who I was working 9 to 5, and it becomes, a whole inner monologue. And then the second picture is the after. And the hair's got bigger, the heels have got bigger, the smile's got bigger, like, now look at me, look at my life, and I've created everything I ever wanted to manifest and more. But I tell you what, friends, I think there's a bit in between. There's a bit in between before and after. There's the ugly cries along the way. And if you're not familiar with the ugly cries section of my website, do check it out. All of the mini episodes, and which is what you're listening to right now, are on my website. And there's a whole category dedicated to them, the ugly cry lessons. Yes, because let's face it, this has not just magically happened. There has been many, and probably more ugly cries. So here we are, March 2021. We're almost at the end of quarter 1. And I'm not going to get into this like, can you believe it? Oh my goodness, time flies. No, we know this is true. And I'm not going to waste your time listening to this podcast, talking about the time or the weather or how quickly this year has gone and all that kind of nonsense, because you've got things to do. And so have I. We know time goes quickly. We know that one day gallops into a week. It's the weekend again. Suddenly another month's gone by, we're halfway through the year, then it's Christmas. We know that time flies. And unless we really check in with what is going on, we can find ourselves in a situation where 5 years have passed and suddenly you wake up and go, what just happened? Oh, I'm not quite where I wanted to be. No, how did this happen? So this is a question and this is a conversation that I'm having with myself about where we go from here. I know, all the profound questions. Because what I'm finding with a lot of my clients at the moment is they are doing incredible things. Incredible things. And you've probably seen them. You've probably seen them on the internet doing these incredible things. I'm not going to share specific examples because I have a confidentiality agreement with my clients and it's not for me to say. However, if there's a point where that next piece of information reveals itself, I absolutely will. So one of the conversations that has been very much at the forefront of what we've been discussing, and I guess what I always ask them, is what is your version of success? And this has come up a lot because I feel that people have been in this conversation, whether it's been in their living room, whether it's been in their head, whether it's been around the park going, oh my goodness, what is the meaning of life? Who am I? Where do I go from here? What's this all about? But I think having this time of reflection has really taken some time to bed in, some processing time of going, what is actually my version of success? And I think what happened for a long time is as soon as the entrepreneurship conversation came up, as soon as the coaching, as soon as people saying, I'm going to be sharing my numbers on the internet, I think suddenly what happened was we became accustomed to those conversations where people would just say like, yeah, I was nothing and then I had a 6-figure business. And you know all of those things, and you've probably heard me whinge about it before, but you know that it kind of annoy me because they're sharing everything, but they're sharing nothing at the same time. And of course, it's completely their prerogative to not share their bank account details. Maybe this is just me being extra nosy. But what I always feel is with those conversations is it leaves me hanging. Like, if you're going to be bold, tell me if that's turnover or profit. Tell me how you managed to make the jump. Like, give me some context to this situation. And so one of the conversations that has come up with my clients and with myself as well is this version of success. And throughout Q1, I feel really proud of myself. And I would say this is the first January to March where I have worked significantly less and I've earned significantly more. And as I was thinking about this, I was looking at my own process. And also I was looking at where I want to go from here. So this year, I know that I'm going to be making massive strides in my business. So last year I felt like I planted all the seeds. I've used this analogy before where I dug up a lot of the garden and I pulled the weeds up and I was back and forth with the wheelbarrow. This is all metaphorical, of course, working with my coach for 12 months. And now I feel like I can breathe a little bit and I've planted those seeds. And now I'm at this point of trusting that these things that I've planted are going to grow and bloom. And I'm going to have those moments in my business where I can almost sit back and enjoy the roses. I knew there was a garden analogy coming. However, this is difficult for me. This is really, and again, I'm going to be completely honest with you because we see the before and after, but what about the ugly bit in between? And this before and after scenario is so nuanced that as I've been working through this process and as I've been working with this new rhythm of trusting I've done enough, which again is really hard in terms of entrepreneurship because there's always something you can do. There's always another podcast to listen to. There's always something else to create or a member of your audience that you haven't connected. There's always a to-do. But I am not in it to work at a burnt out rate. I am not in it to feel completely frazzled, to do those moments where I'm looking at my kid, even though I'm playing with my kid, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've got all those emails to do. And I know that in the first couple of years of becoming a mum, so 2015, 2016, I knew that I was in that weird place because I didn't have a sustainable business. I didn't feel like I could predict what was going to happen. So I was in survival mode the whole time. And I was hoping that my son would sleep so I could jump on my computer and make some money and figure out how I could get a new client and build something. And he wasn't particularly a great sleeper. Let's just say that. He wasn't a great sleeper. When people just say, I put them in their cot at 7 p.m. and I sort of don't really see them until the next morning. No, that was not the case in our house. And there may be some people who are like, well, you maybe did it wrong. Maybe you were too much. Maybe you should have had a better routine. We tried all the things, but he sleeps now, which is the main thing because he's 5.5. So that's good. But it's been interesting watching this sense of me and reinventing and rewriting the rules for me. And I was saying this earlier in the week. on a previous podcast that my friend Jess and I were talking about the fact that we watched our parents work so hard, and hard work was so celebrated, and we weren't in that conversation necessarily of self-worth or self-love. So if somebody in your local town got a brand new car, for example, you couldn't just say, yeah, I wanted it, I bought it, it was my own money, I earned it, I'm going to earn this moment. You somehow had to do this apology sort of moment of like, yes, well, I've been working really hard, or I did get this bonus, or, you know, I had been saving, and this justification. And it's been really interesting noticing where my gaps are and where I've needed to do more work or less work. And this has been fascinating because I've had to rewrite the way that I operate, as in, it's not a case of doing something for 10 hours sitting at my desk, that the equation of sitting and doing the thing doesn't necessarily equate to the outcome anymore. Because I have got to the stage in my business where I actually don't work all the hours every single day. And yes, of course, there is a moment, and I'll go into this a bit more, where I'm ready to go bigger and bolder. And that's going to take some tweaking in terms of the way that I work and the additional support that I'm going to have in place and all of that. But I certainly don't sit at my desk and go, right, I'm here from 9 o'clock and I'm going to stay here until 5 o'clock. It's much more flexible, especially because, you know, I've got a little one at home. And so Matt and I definitely tag team in this. But that has been a conversation. Version of success. What is your version of success? Is it money? How much is it? How much time do you want to have off? What is your ideal day? How are you feeling on a day-to-day basis? And also, what do you need? So when you're thinking about working and moving and going to the next level and all of that jazz, I've realized that I actually need more downtime. I need more time where I'm kind of sitting in bed and reading a book. Hello, that's nice, isn't it? But also when things begin to open up again, I know that I'm going to need some days out in London. I'm going to need some days in London. Like, I live in London, but actually getting on a tube and going into central London. I need that sense of soaking up what's going on out there. I know that I get inspired when I look at what's around me, when I notice the success or the process of other people, not when I'm just sitting and watching another webinar and somebody going, here's a quick hack, do this and it will be great. No, it comes down to lots of different things because I want to be led through creativity, through my version of this. So I'm hopping around. So I'm going to connect into step number 2, which is something that has become apparent in this quarter, which is in order to have this profitable, this expanding few months, I've had to pay attention to my needs like a toddler. And if you've ever been around small people, it's that sense where you know, like Matt and I will sometimes say this, like we know how much time we've got before everything goes mad. And we have got much better. And I think maybe our expectations are smaller now. But I knew that moment with Oscar when we would be trying to plan sleeps and trying to work out like, okay, well, if we get this train, then we're going to be back for bedtime and all of this sort of stuff. And there will be this moment where it's like, we're safe. Oh, no. Oh, gosh, we've reached the point of no return. He's beside himself. I might have a cry as well. And it's all gone wrong. And you only learn that by having a few of those really tricksy experiences under your belt. And I've really learned this throughout my own entrepreneurship, that if I don't pay attention to my needs and my boundaries and what I need, nobody else is going to. Nobody else is going to say, look, Nikki, why don't you have a day off? I'll take over. I'll do this. You don't need to work with that client, etc. Unless I pay attention, unless I really realize what I need and I ask for help and I work in my own rhythm and I set myself up for success, that's the only way that I'm going to grow. So this old paradigm, I guess, of starving artist or struggling or hustling harder or working until 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes, of course, there have been times where I've been in the grind, where I felt like I've been in the agonizing bit when I just didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to be in the grind of it. Those days are no more, because long term and sustainably, that's not going to work for me. And I can do that for a little bit. So when I need to, I can ramp things up a little bit and get more childcare or, say no to other things. But generally, that is not how I want to work. Number 3, what I've really noticed over the last quarter is that things don't happen by accident, but also you don't have to do all the things. So I would say ever since probably the last 2 or 3 years, where I've really leaned into being intentional, like what is it that I want? And if it's not clear, if I'm kind of saying, well, it's a bit of this and it's a bit vague and it's all this sort of shizzle, that is an invitation now for me to go, okay, no, you need to clarify this a bit more. Go a layer deeper. Because sometimes what we can do is we can say we don't know what we want or we don't know the next step. And we also assume that that is a full stop. Like, oh, I don't know what to do next, full stop. And actually, the moment is, it's the invitation of saying, do I actually not know what to do next? Or am I avoiding it? Or am I just leaning into an old story of like, oh, I'm winging it, I'm making it up as I go along, when actually I know exactly what to do next. But there's an invitation to maybe go deeper, to maybe question more, because usually I know what I need to do next, but I'm frightened to do it. I don't want to actually do the thing. Also, I've realised that I have not really been on social media very much this quarter. And this really took me by surprise. And it's been a recognition, actually, that there have been times where I just simply haven't had the energy to give to it. But I do need to think about where I go forward, because I want to grow and, I know the power of it. I know how brilliant it can be. But also, I know that I haven't relied on it in order to grow my business. And I've really leaned into how I can serve the same people at a deeper level. And that same people is not just like 2 people. It's like, how can I bring people into my world so I can really take care of them? And ever since I started working on longer term relationships with people, everybody has renewed. Everybody has done another block, another package. And it's been really interesting to observe that, because there is this sensation, especially with something like social media, where you always have to be out. You almost have to be out on your front porch or your, outside your front gate, like, hiya, anybody need anything? Do you want to come in? Hi, I'm available. And actually what I've noticed this quarter is I've been a lot more behind the scenes. I actually haven't been that visible. I've been here visible with you, but in terms of sharing all of my day, of sharing all of the things, or, there's been times in my business where I've been able to post like 4 times a day or something like that. I just haven't had it in me. There's been too much other stuff going on, but it hasn't affected my revenue, my audience. People have still been around. And I think sometimes that's a lovely boundary to have in place, or certainly a moment where it's nice to check in. Like, do I need to be everywhere at all times? Or do I need to find a better balance where I really feel like I can help people on a greater level, where I can actually do the work that I'm supposed to be doing out and about? Number 4. Yes. And this is an interesting one. I don't want to be a predictable template. The internet is full of people sharing their exact methods and exactly their step-by-step guides. And I know this absolutely works for some people. And what they can do is then just follow their formula and become like another version of that person. And then they can start sharing the same sales tactics and inviting the person who's 2 steps behind them to do exactly the same thing. But I have noticed so much, and I always say this, like it would be so much easier to be able to do that, to go, I'm just going to copy that person's business and like just apply the same things. I'm going to do that. But everything in me goes, no, you're not supposed to be a templated version. And I can see that throughout my life, like from the careers that I've chosen, from having this mixed up version of who I am and what I'm all about, and having different income streams. Like that's the stuff that really lights me up. That's how I want to work. I don't want to just do things in a predictable box ticking way, mainly because my own intuition, my own instinct, because I've worked on it, because I've listened to it, it's like a rowdy I've never shared this like analogy before. It's like a rowdy pissed granny in a church. So I might be kind of, trotting along in life like la 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 la, I'll just do this templated version. And my intuition or my instinct will pop up when it all goes quiet, when I'm doing that, and go, I'm going to swear, by the way, if you need to just press pause or move into a different room. And my inner pissed granny goes, fucking hell, don't be doing that. That's not what you want to do. Why are you doing that? Oh, that's what everybody else does. Ah, what a load of shit. Like, that's what my inner wisdom does. She stops me and goes, oi, come here. You need to, no, this is, no. Look, I've shown you, it doesn't make you feel good. Why are you doing it? Hey. That's what happens. And also, in knowing that I don't want to be a predictable template, it also means that I have to carve out time to spend some time with that inner pissed granny and take her on a walk and pay her attention and look after her. Which brings me on to what my April is going to look like. And as I was saying, like, oh my goodness, like this and making this decision, and I made this decision this morning, it triggered me because it brought up all my stuff of like hard work or letting people down. And I feel like I've got a really nice rhythm since Christmas doing this podcast, and I've been really consistent with it and I've been putting it out there, but I'm going to have 2 weeks off. So today is going to be the last episode until, let's see, it might be 2 weeks today, but it might actually be Monday the 5th of April. Because, do you know what? With growth, and again, this happens all the time, I've had huge growth over the last few months. I need to make sure that I'm taking care of that I'm building stuff that is not just going to be a one-hit wonder where I just go, woo, yeah, I've done this, I've hit this milestone, I've been able to do this, this and this. No, this is about going, right, where do I go now? Have I got the systems in place? One of the systems I did not have in place. I have since purchased the technology this morning in order to make that happen. So it's been interesting paying attention to actually what all of those things look like in terms of not being a predictable template. Because if I was just being a predictable template, I'd just be able to follow somebody else's lead. But because I want to go fuller and broader and deeper and wider and all of those things, I'm going to have to take a break over the next couple of weeks because I've got some really great things coming in April. Also, I've been fully booked over March. And I know that my clients are doing great things. And I want to go all in, and I really am excited to see where they're going to go. And if you're a client and you're listening to this, yes, I've got you. Absolutely. So I'm going to take 2 weeks off this, and I'm going to really lean into what is next. And of course, I'm still going to be here on Instagram and things like that, but I'm just not going to be creating new episodes, because also I've got some content that I need to finish off for various courses and things like that. And I know that it's going to require my attention, not just in okay, I'll just scribble off that email, but the whole version of me, the best version of me. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, it feels brave. But also, if you're inspired to do that, do that. I actually had a chat with a client the other day, and we were talking about repurposing content because she was saying that she's so busy. And I was like, well, just do that. And she was like, oh, I could do that for a month. I'm like, yes, you could. She's like, oh, so I wouldn't have to spend time creating more. No. And also, when that guilt came up of like, no, but people are used to this podcast coming out. Pals, there's nearly 400 episodes of me talking. Some really good stuff, probably some average stuff, and a few weird ones as well, I'm sure, where I was hormonal or emotional or something like this. You're going to be just fine. Also, there's loads of other podcasts out there. So for the next couple of weeks, don't worry, I'm not leaving you hung out to dry. Also as well, if you want to find more, you can find me on my YouTube channel. There's loads of videos on there. So do check that out, and please subscribe as well. That would be lovely. So number 5, as the sort of final moment of where I need to go from here, is I've had a realization I need to go slower to go faster. So also, when we set goals, and this is the case in my circumstance, is that it can be like, right, I've got to do this, and I've got to have this done by this certain time. There were things that I was hoping to get done last week, didn't happen. Mainly because we had building work outside, and it was really super noisy. And when that happens, sometimes you just have to give in to it. Sometimes you need to take a moment and slow down and see what's going on and just take your time with it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Next quarter, I'm going slower to go faster, and I'm excited about it. I am excited about what's to come, because I feel like this next version, this next chapter has been bubbling for a while. So I'm really excited to share it with you and to chat further. So thank you so much, as always, for being with me. And do let me know what you think of today's episode. Do you need to take some time over Easter? What do you need to think about it? I would love to know, as always. Anyway, sending you lots of loves. Thanks for being here, and speak soon. Bye bye.